Are you thinking about moving to Costa Rica? Well, that may be why you're on this channel. So before you pack your bags and make all of your arrangements, I definitely want to save you some time, stress, and money and talk to you about the 5 biggest mistakes that I see people making moving, to Costa Rica, or could be to also other foreign countries, and how you can solve them. And if this is your first time on the channel, my name is Sarah Lena. I help people with moving to Costa Rica. So I pretty much eat, breathe, sleep moving to Costa Rica. So this channel has lots and lots of information for you to digest. If you are thinking about moving or coming on a scouting trip, this is exactly what we do. So go ahead and we'll check out my website. There'll be some links down below. I assist with scouting trips. We assist with full relocations. We have retreats. We got a podcast. I mean, there's a lot going on, within our little relocation world here. So there'll be plenty of information for you to dive in. Also down below, there will be a link for you to book a call with me if you would like to. Now, please only do that if you're actually serious about taking action on something, because the calls aren't just rapid fire Q&A. They're not just for me to sit there and answer a bunch of questions. They are for me to understand your situation and see how I can help you actually take action on, what you're trying to accomplish, whether that's a scouting trip or you're ready for your relocation. And we have another retreat coming up. As I mentioned, the retreats are amazing in-person experiences. Like, love them. So amazing. Best experiences. Like, I always look forward to these weeks during the year. We're up in La Fortuna. It's a blast. So check out the link below down too if you want to consider joining a retreat with us in person to actually meet everybody. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that I'm seeing people with their move to Costa Rica? Again, handle this day to day, all day, every day. Number one would be, skipping a scouting trip. So some people will skip their scouting trips. I'm very open. I will tell you I've made every mistake in the book. That's why I do what I do. I learned everything the hard way. I did not take a scouting trip to Costa Rica. So again, I'm not being a hypocrite here, but I'm seeing I made a ton of mistakes on my move to Costa Rica. And this was one of them. I should have taken a scouting trip and seen what areas were the right fit for me. I know some people, the world's kind of a stressful place right now. Let's be honest. Even down here in Costa Rica, I don't completely live under a rock. I do, hear what's going on around the world, and it can sound a little bit scary sometimes. So you might just want to pick up and go. But I do urge you to please take that scouting trip. I know the trip, you might say, we don't really have the time or the money to do it. We could use that money to our move. It's just really pertinent that you do take that trip so that you can come find out if Costa Rica really is for you. We do scouting trip planning. I have other videos on that about what we actually do. But usually the main goals of people coming down on a scouting trip are to either figure out, if Costa Rica is the right fit for them, and if so, where do they want to live? And if you have limited time, you might want to enroll some expertise to make sure that you're getting to the places you need to go, seeing and doing the things that you need to do and see in order to come out of the trip actually meeting those goals. Other people that I work with are like, oh no, we're moving. We're just coming down to figure out, maybe we want to look at some rental homes, or we want to just figure out what town we want to be in. So whichever category you're in, I do think it's still great for you to come down into the country. Because again, if you come down and find out that it's just not for you, perfect. You just saved yourself a ton of headache for sure. And then you can keep exploring and finding out what is for you. So it's totally worth it to come take a trip. Of course, I know not everyone would always have the time and money in the world. That's why I do design scouting trips that are very precise, that gets you to where you need to go quickly. All right, next mistake here for Costa Rica specifically. All right, sorry, my dogs were getting crazy. If you guys know me, I have 3 dogs. That's a lot. Okay, so underestimating the cost of living. A lot of people do underestimate how expensive Costa Rica is. I see it online. Oh, Costa Rica is so expensive. It's so expensive. I've done videos about the cost of living. I've done videos about what's cheaper here, what's more expensive here. For me personally, I find living here to be more affordable than the United States where I was living before. Of course, it's up to you. You determine your cost of living. You can make it, you can make it totally expensive to live here in Costa Rica, or you can make it a lot cheaper. Personally, now, I've been to Colombia, I've been to Panama, I've been to Nicaragua. I've been to Guatemala, I've been to El Salvador. Going to those other countries, I was like, wow, it is so much cheaper here. To eat, I went to a dollar store, one of those dollar stores in El Salvador, and loaded up on just basic things. I was like, oh, that conditioner that I like, $3 here. Face masks, $1.50. I couldn't believe it. So Costa Rica is a little bit expensive with some things, but there is creative ways to get around and live on a budget. We definitely, Like you have to just live and like learn how to be creative with how to live. And you can actually live, I think, on a pretty decent budget here. Now, what that budget's going to be, I can't really tell you. I will be doing a budgeting webinar, or it might already be out by now. Budgeting is so specific to each person, and there's so much that goes into it. I can't just tell you a number of like, oh yeah, you can live on X amount per month. But people do underestimate the cost of living. So one way that you can solve that is really putting together a realistic budget. If I have the budgeting webinar, it'll be up. It'll probably be ready within the next month of this video actually coming out. So the budgeting webinar I've designed that, you know, it'll help you work through an actual realistic budget for your move, because I do notice that is one of the biggest mistakes, and that's one of the biggest pitfalls. I don't want someone moving to Costa Rica and going, oh my God, it was more expensive, we need to leave. So we really try to prevent that within our program. I have a lot of resources in our programs for our clients that actually have costs of items, of how much real things costs and where they're from, and just everything that we can do to help someone really evaluate their budget so that they're not coming down and, you know, going, oh my gosh, this is too expensive, we need to leave. Okay, so mistake number 3, this is a big one, rushing to buy property. The most ethical real estate agents that I work with, who are very ethical, they will tell you themselves, don't come down and just buy property right off the bat. This is the thing. So most people will come down, I will encourage you to please rent first. Rent first, make sure you love your area, then look for property. Because number one, you might get a really good killer deal just being in and around the community. You might come across something that's a great deal. Again, you have to be working with the best lawyer ever. I have a whole series on how to purchase real estate in Costa Rica. So we're not going to get into the nitty gritty of that. But I'm just saying it's really worth it to wait. Like, you could save yourself a huge headache. Oh, there's monkeys. Like, how cool. Monkeys. I bought a property. There's monkeys in my backyard. That's so awesome. So it's just worth it to rent. I do have some people who will come down and they do immediately buy property, or they'll even buy property before moving. Again, you guys are adults. I can advise you, please rent first. But again, in the end, you're going to do what you want to do in the end, you know, kind of no matter what I say. But my advice would be to please rent first. Rent first. I mean, who knows? Like, what if you really like your area, but then you're coming and you bought a property and you're traveling around Costa Rica and you fell in love with a whole nother area? And you're like, oh my God, I wish I had bought here. Or like, this would have been perfect. Oh, this other town. So make sure you really know the country and you know your area very well before you do decide to purchase. And I don't say there's any time limit. It's not, oh, it has to be 2 years. Oh, it has to be 2 months. Whatever it is. It's just whenever you feel like 1000% sure that that is your place. That's when I would say. So don't rush to buy property. Mistake number 3, rent first if you can. Number 4 would be not researching, the residency options. I do a lot of these calls with people, these introductory, exploratory calls, kind of like what I told you, go ahead and book a link. And it's okay. In these calls, I'm not expecting people to know like a whole lot. Some people will come to me and they're very well versed in logistics and they really seem to know a lot and they've done a lot of their research. Other people, when they talk to me, they're just kind of starting, and that's okay too. So not researching the residency options. It's okay if you don't know, but you need to research. You need to know them. I have videos on this about what the residency categories are. So if you're not sure what they are, go look them up, because imagine you end up coming to Costa Rica, you love Costa Rica, you want to lay your roots down, but you can't figure out a actual long-term way to become a resident here in the country. So that's a mistake that I see. And then some people thinking, okay, like, can I come down and work? And I'm like, no, you have to be a permanent resident and all of that. So just make sure that you do know the residency options and how they relate to you, because that's another mistake that I see. The last one would just be kind of ignoring the laws and culture. I wouldn't say that we have any laws down here that are so severely different than North America. I would actually say it's a little more lawless down here. There's not that much enforcement of the laws. So that's something to keep in mind. But the culture, you do need to understand that you're coming to a different culture. And that's a mistake that I see. Things are just going to be done different. And it's going to take you time to understand the nuances, to understand, how Costa Ricans are. I've done talks about culture and things like that on this channel as well as, we try to prepare our clients for some differences and maybe coach them through different things that they're seeing. Like, oh, this is different. Is this normal? So do some research on that. And just remember that you are coming to a whole different culture in Costa Rica. And I think a lot of people do end up coming here because they feel that the culture is a good match with their own values. So I think overall, I haven't seen too many issues in that with the people that we work with, but it is a mistake that can be made. And maybe I've just seen, observing when I've been out and about of like, okay, yeah, this person's frustrated because they don't understand, some of the cultural nuances here. I would say those are, 5 of the biggest mistakes that I see. So I hope that this information is helpful. I talked about some links that you can find in the description below this video. Yeah, if you do find it helpful, then give it a whatever thumbs up, and I don't know, whatever YouTube wants you to do. If it's your first video and you're kind of coming down the moving to Costa Rica rabbit hole, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I usually do 2 to 3 videos per week, so lots of information. Plus, the podcast goes up on here. And I think that's it. I did put a link in my bio for if people want to buy me a coffee or something. If you like the information, you're appreciative, you can go to the link in bio and buy me a coffee and buy me a chai latte. That's what I like. All right, so I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for joining me today, and see you in the next one.